A while ago, companies used to have values, but nobody paid attention to them. They're typically just sitting around. Nobody even looked at them very often, and they were just sort of a check the box. We have values. What values, if you're really going to be a growth, sort of value-driven growth company, they have to be alive. They have to be lived every day by your company. They also have to be sort of accepted by everybody in your company. So I'll give you an example like how we build our values. It's not me sort of coming down from on high with values. It's actually the company building them. So once a year we have a company get together where everybody comes together in one place. It's a lot of fun and things like that, but it's also culture building. And as part of that, we look at our values as a company, and everybody in the company gets input into, are they still correct? Do they need to be adjusted? Do we get rid of one or two? Do we add something to it?
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we're going to talk about culture-driven growth. When you have the right culture, it drives the growth in your business. That's the idea. But most people don't have that kind of culture. They have the people that show up and get work done. They have the people that show up and love to hang out and connect with their friends, and they love to get that paycheck. But a growth-driven culture. Now, when you think about that, I want you to really take this in. Some of the keys behind this are pretty rudimentary, but it will help you. Our call is with Clerri. The CEO and founder of that is Dave Monahan. And we talk about this culture-driven growth. When you understand your people and you have values that are aligned together, and he talks about the specific way that they create values, which is a little different than most, and then how often they refresh it. I will let you kind of tune in to get the details behind that, but it will change your business when you have this unity. He also believes in transparency. We talk a little bit about that as well. And so just be ready to understand culture to a different level after today's interview. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm a CEO coach. We do executive coaching and leadership development across companies that are in growth mode. If your company is facing some new challenges, new headwinds of growth, then you would definitely want to build a stronger foundation. You want to have the right leadership models that drive things forward. If you're curious about the work that we do, all you have to do is go to a free training that we host every week and just go to training.coreelevation.com. Inside there, you'll talk about stop being the bottleneck of your business and how do you take our 5 steps to really create the kind of business of your dreams, the legacy kind of company, and just go to training.coreelevation.com to sign up for free today. Now, here's the interview with Dave. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Gene.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you about your company and about growth. So tell us about Clerri.
So Clari, it really is a simple sort of netting out of what we do. We create subscriptions that dental practices can offer to their patients. And the dental practice is totally in control of what the subscription includes, the discounts provided, and the treatment provided inside the subscriptions. Patients buy it directly from the dentist. There's no hassles in between the two parties. So it just makes it much easier for patients to get access to care at a discount.
I've got a doctor like this that I love this. I pay $99 a month and I go in there and I get a lot, I feel like, for that. And I'm getting regular blood tests. Is that similar what you're talking about for dental?
It is. So we have basically taken that same concept and put it in the dental. Our plans can be customized however a dental practice wants, but the net is they typically net out to 3 different care plans. They'll create one for children, one for adults, and one for patients that have periodontal disease. And they'll include your 2 cleanings, your exams, your x-rays, and then discounts off of all other treatment. And so it looks very much like dental insurance at the end of the day, but it's much less expensive for the patient. And the practice keeps a lot more because you don't have the middleman in between sort of taking their cut.
I love this model. I'd love to have it in my my dental practice because it works so well for me in a medical practice. $99 a month, budget building, I guess, billing, and then things are at cost. It's just such an incredible opportunity. When you decided to do this, what brought you into this world?
So I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I actually started another company and sold it back in 2016. And in 2017, I was actually trying to, take some time off, do some other things I wanted to do. And I ran into somebody who actually owned dental practices. And my only experience with dental to that point was I went every 6 months, and I thought everybody did. And he shared with me not many patients would come in when they should, and that dental insurance was impossible for them to deal with because of all the hassles and costs. And it was a money loser for their offices. So he explained that to me. I hired a market research firm and I spent about 9 months investigating the market, and that's where the idea came from.
Fantastic. I know that you've grown up to over 100 employees now in a short period of time. You've made the Inc. list, and big reason behind that is you have a culture-driven growth. How do you frame that in for those that never heard that term?
Yeah. So, and just a quick update on it, Gene. So we're going to get the third in a row Inc. 5000 award coming up here in September. So we feel really good, and we're very focused on growth, as you said. And so the way I think about culture and values is if you had a triangle, it's the foundation of everything you do. So a lot of people will start with either mission or strategy and things like that. And I think actually below that is the values and the culture you create that then supports your mission, that then supports your strategy. So for me, growth and everything we do, not just growth but profit, is based on having the right values at the foundation of the triangle.
I will have to be honest with you. Before I started this, and I've had multiple companies, values was not something that we talked about in pre-2010. I'm sure it was around, but it just wasn't as prevalent. When I started this podcast, again, I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Over 60% of fast growth companies will say its values are such a critical part of the business that they don't know how they would be where they are if they didn't have a set of values that they lived by. And that was the key, the living of the values. Do you look at it differently?
No, that's exactly the way I look at it. And I agree with you. I think, a while ago, companies used to have values, but nobody paid attention to them. They're typically just sitting around. Nobody even looked at them very often. And they were just sort of a check the box. We have values. What values, if you're really going to be a growth, sort of value-driven growth company, they have to be alive. They have to be lived every day by your company. They also have to be sort of accepted by everybody in your company. So I'll give you an example like how we build our values. It's not me sort of, coming down from on high with values. It's actually the company building them. So once a year, we have a company get together where everybody comes together in one place. It's a lot of fun and things like that, but it's also culture building. And as part of that, we look at our values as a company, and everybody in the company gets input into, are they still correct? Do they need to be adjusted? Do we get rid of one or two? Do we add something to it? And we basically do a round robin with the whole company where we have about 7 or 8 people in a room who will go through them with me and with our head of HR. And we rotate people in across the company to give their input. And then we adjust them, and then we feed them back, and then we leave it open for comments for about a week. And then we lock them down and say, here's our shared values moving forward. So it has to be alive, and people have to be involved in making the values.
We've been talking about values, and one of the things I want to reinforce here is your values have to be who you are today. You can have aspirational values in there, but if you have too many aspirational values, it really does take away from the impact of the values. It has to be who we are, how we've gotten to where we are. And the way that Dave talks about them getting there is an incredible, way to get to your values. But I will also tell you that you as a founder want to make sure that your values are clear to yourself and that you can help your team create the values that are align them. But if people are out of alignment with your core values as a founder, you will find frustration at work, and that's just the way it works. And so you definitely want to include other people, but make sure you have a good grasp of what your values are so that you can create the kind of company incorporates all of that. Back to Dave. I agree in the same thing, but I don't think I've ever met anyone who changes it yearly, or at least the way I would frame that is a re-audition, right? So they're available to be a part of the company moving forward, but they have to earn their place back in each year is what I'm hearing you say.
They do, yeah. So we don't typically make big changes each year, but we will tweak them. And we, just a little backdrop on our company, we brought 2 companies together. We merged 2 companies about 14 months ago. And there was a case where we had to go take a look at them. So the 2 companies each had their own values. There was a lot of overlap. I would say there's probably, 75% overlap. And there was just 25% where one company was sort of focused on something else, the other company was focused on something else. And so we had to bring the company together to take a look at it and make a decision about how do we carry forward as one company with both set of values sort of meshed together. So I would agree with you. It doesn't happen very often when you make big changes, but sometimes something like a merger obviously is going to create some major change to those values.
I'm kind of curious, how many values do you have now?
We have 6.
6. Yeah. And so what is your favorite way for the values to show up on a regular basis? Do you have rituals around these values, whether it be awards or recognition of some sort?
We don't currently have rewards. I would say it's built into our culture in that we do celebrate these values in multiple ways. So when we get together and we have company events and company meetings, we will talk about them. We will show examples of them and make sure everybody understands sort of these are the things we value in employees. But we also embed it. This is where it becomes a life as far as, always alive. We have quarterly performance reviews, and our values are, we have two sets of things we measure people against: our values and then just their core KPIs and what you're trying to do from an operational standpoint. And so everybody understands where they stand, relative to the values that we have with the company, and then they're able to either make changes to their sort of behavior, or again, we'll take feedback at that point and say, does the values, still line up to what we're trying to do, and do we make any adjustments based on that?
When you find someone gets out of alignment with values, what's your typical approach to that, Dave?
So it is, if let me give you an anecdote, and then I'll come back to that question. So one of the proudest moments I've ever had as a company was actually back when COVID struck. And so when COVID struck, we are dependent on dental offices being open. I mean, that's how we make our money. That people, patients are coming in, paying their subscription, buying new subscriptions, renewing their subscriptions. And so COVID shut down all the dental offices. And when that happened, you can imagine we were facing extinction at that point. And we took a step back as a leadership team and said, okay, what's logical for us to do right now? So we had patients paying subscriptions to us who could not go to dental offices, right? Because dental offices were closed. And so we were like, okay, we can continue to force them to pay the subscriptions. That's one option. We could shut it all off and shut the company down. This is option number two. And then option number three was one we came up with, which was based on our values, which one of our values back then was being open and transparent and fair. And so we actually built a feature into our product that enabled both the patient and the offices to shut their subscriptions off. So we said, hey, if you're not able to get access to care and you don't want to pay your subscription moving forward, here's your option to sort of check the box, and we will stop charging you a subscription. What came back from that, Gene, was almost none of the patients or the offices stopped paying their subscription, and we got a ton of feedback back that one is they'll make it up, they'll figure out the care once they reopen their offices. And the other thing we got was, since they compare us, a lot of offices compare us to insurance, they said the insurers never did anything for us. They continued to charge premiums, and they did not, obviously the offices got no reimbursement for that. And the patients were very happy when they heard that we had the option to stop paying their subscription. So the net for us is we're constantly looking at our behaviors as a company and making sure they align to the values we have. And we do that the same way with our employees. And so we'll typically, like, if I see somebody not acting within our values, I will have a conversation with them, or their manager will have a conversation with them. And we constantly reinforce it day in and day out if we see sort of divergence from the values. And then, like I said before, it's also hardwired into our performance management process. And so we know that everybody's going to have, at least on a quarterly basis, a discussion about how they're behaving relative to our values.
We spent a lot of time talking about values because it's very important, but I'm just kind of curious, if you've got a culture-driven growth, what else besides values allows you to be the company that you are today?
I mean, there's quite a few things. I would say innovation is critical, and it's one of our values, by the way. Is we tell everybody in our company, you got to take chances. Right? If we don't fail, we're not going to succeed. And so innovation to me is absolutely core to a technology company. We're a software technology company at the end of the day, and if we're not changing the way we do things and getting better and better every day, we're dead. Somebody is going to pass us. So I think innovation is absolutely critical. And I would say also just it's probably more of a sort of a whatever, staying in touch with the sort of people outside our organization, and making sure we're in touch with our competitors, with our prospects, with our customers, understanding their needs, and just being very, very close to what they're looking for in our solution and the value we create for them.
Dave's been talking about innovation, and I want to jump in here because a lot of people want innovation, but they're not really freeing their people up to fail. If you want to do something you've never done before, you've got to fail. You've got to be okay with the feedback that comes from that. And it's all part of the journey. And your job as a leader is to inspire that. Your job is to not hold people in shame if they do fail, or if they cost the company some money. It is a very big exercise in personal growth when you can be okay with failure. Now, you want to create the right boundaries, you want to create the right kind of leadership and structure, but innovation requires failure to be a part of the feedback mechanism, and you want to do that over and over and over until you get better over time. Now, back to Dave. You've got a very clear understanding of who your business is, and I'm just wondering, what would you say your core leadership principles are that have allowed you to create multiple businesses? You've sold one, and now you're building this other successful one with a great track record.
Yeah, so I have a very, very sort of base level of transparency that I think is critical to any company that's going to be successful. I am very transparent with all information in the company, all the way through the whole organization. So everybody in our organization knows our financials. We give them our P&L. We give them our cash balance. We give them our balance sheet. Like, we are totally transparent, and that obviously extends to everything we do, from a growth perspective as well. We share all information across the company openly, and as part of that, for me, it's a way of empowering leaders within the organization to do what they need to do to be successful. So they know exactly where they stand relative to our performance and why it's so important for us to hit a KPI. Let's say in our customer experience group, they understand if I hit this KPI, that drives this outcome, both from a value perspective for our customer, but from a profit and loss perspective for our company. And so we hardwire that transparency, that responsibility, and that ability to sort of execute your part of the business and know how it stacks across the company and why it's important for everybody across the company.
It sounds like you have a very keen use for data. You mentioned KPIs a couple of times. Give me a good view of how you're using KPIs to lead your team and to create the culture that you have.
Yeah, so we are very big on performance. It's actually one of our values it's called aim high, drive results. And so we always set high standards for ourselves, and then the drive results is back to these KPIs. And so so as part of the merger, we had to bring two totally different data systems together. It was one of the top priorities I had for our team, is we need one consolidated view of our business and understand all the way from top to bottom what is important to drive. So we have a stack of KPIs that go from marketing leads, like I would say even before that, impressions, to leads, to prospects, into our pipeline, aging of our pipeline, into closing deals, into then implementing those deals, and then those deals generating revenue, and then upsell and cross-selling. So if you looked at and then actually I should continue, then our financials, so net revenue coming from all those, and then from there, profit. So we have this very, very tight stack of KPIs all the way across the organization. Everybody knows what their piece of the KPI is and why it's so important in that stack. And so the marketing team knows why they're obviously feeding into the sales team into our CX team into our support team, and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very tight framework that is very specific. Each person can understand their piece and the overarching performance of the company based on everybody's piece of that.
Just a sense of visual. Do you do this in spreadsheets? Do you do this in dashboards? Do you do this in some other type of tool that allows everyone to have access to those key numbers?
Yeah, so we have we use if I go into sort of the technical infrastructure, our baseline data infrastructure is on Snowflake. And so Snowflake's a giant data aggregator that you can do lots of things on top of. But we have our Salesforce data going in there. We have our support system data going in there. We have our customer platform system going in there. All of our data across all of our company goes into Snowflake. And we create a data infrastructure that can support all that data and then bring that data together to be viewed in whatever way we want. On top of Snowflake, we've implemented an application called ThoughtSpot. And ThoughtSpot is using AI and natural language for people can create whatever report they want. They can combine any of that data coming in to see their view of the business. And we have canned reports that we do, like the finance team has this set of reports, I have my set of reports, and so on. But I can go in there anytime, and anybody in the company can go in there anytime and query the data however they want. And then I'll take this one step further, Gene. That data infrastructure is also what we present to our customers. So when our customers sign up for our service, they're on our platform using it. We take the data that we get from their systems, so we integrate into their systems that run their businesses, and we show them the impact we're having on their business. So we can go in there and show them their patients are coming in more often, they're accepting more care, they're driving more revenue for the offices but it's all in the same infrastructure that we use internally. So everything's connected.
I love the structure behind everything you're doing to create this, culture-driven growth. Anything we've left out that you want to highlight before we wrap up today's call?
I think I don't think I have anything that we left out. I would say just real quickly on the values, we covered a number of them today, so I'll go through them really quickly. So one is we have this fundamental be yourself in our company, which is we don't want people to pretend they're something else. We want them to bring their personality and their unique view of the business into our company. There's a lot of value, right, in having different views of the business. We have the aim high, drive results that I talked about. That's all about trying to get really, really high performing. We have solutions that our customers love. That's another core value of ours. It's funny, Gene, I use the word love, not like, and I tell the team you got to make them love it. And so it's another bar that it's difficult to get to, but we constantly strive for it. Be fearless is another one of our values, and that's all about taking risk. And then we have something around two-way communication. It's called listen and speak up. I want people to voice their view, but I also want them to listen to other people's view and make sure that we're listening to each other and sort of bringing views together versus either one person just speaking or one person just listening.
All of it is an incredible look at how your company is successful, how you lead this culture. Dave, thanks for being here and sharing all of those details.
Thanks for having me, Gene.
Wow, what a great interview. I love talking to people who are passionate about their business, care about their people, and are really open and focus on values is such an important piece to this. The also importance of having the kind of business that you really want to grow is critical. If we can help you in any way, please let me know. When you think about growth and you think about leadership, think about Growth Think Tank. As always, these are Courage. We'll see you next time.